Hello, and welcome to Daily Bread, Thoughts for Your Devotions. I am your host, Pastor Phil. Today is Thursday, June 4th, and whenever you are tuning in, welcome. You have tuned in to the final installment of our narrative arc that we've been tracing as we look at many different styles of literature and storytelling methods, and we see that there are some common threads, some common elements to all storytelling. They follow a main character. The main character builds a following, and the main character performs either natural or supernatural miracles, builds more of a following, angers the people who are in power, who are going to be upset by the main character's rise to power and prominence and people following him or her. We saw the final battle yesterday, the date with destiny, after which the main character usually emerges victorious, and then we are left to see what's going to happen with the main character, his or her followers, and the people who will be affected by the date with destiny, just one. In Gladiator, it's when Maximus is fighting Commodus and finally kills him, and he is speaking with the head of the Praetorian Guard, and he's giving orders as to what to do, who to be in power, who to go seek out and restore, so that the Roman Empire can be prosperous again after the dark days of Commodus's rule. It's in Braveheart when William Wallace, played by Mel Gibson, has the voice over, and the Scottish people are uniting under Robert the Bruce to fight and to expel the English from Scotland. In many of our narratives, we see the main character giving some sort of instruction, some sort of interpretation for the rest of us to see just what did that date with destiny really mean? What is supposed to amount of all of these actions and this whole story that's taking place? And the same is true in the true story that we've been following as well this whole time, the story of Jesus. After his death and his resurrection, he appears before his disciples, first to the women, right? First to Mary at the tomb, who recognizes Jesus and goes back and tells the disciples, and then the disciples are locked up in that upper room, and Jesus appears before them and says, "Here I am." Then we have an account where Jesus appears before Peter, and he's out fishing with some of the other disciples, and they come ashore, and Jesus is there making breakfast, and Jesus restores Peter. He asks Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" 3 times Peter says yes. The 3rd time, visibly upset because he's understanding what's happening. He had denied Jesus 3 times the night before he was executed, and now he's risen and Peter needs to be restored. We see that before Jesus' ascension, when he brings them up on top of the mountain, and he says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them everything I have commanded you, and baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit." You see, this is where the main character delegates all of the power, all of the authority that has been won by his victory, his or her victory during this date with destiny. And now the people who have followed that person get to be leaders in this new era that's being ushered in, this new kingdom that's being ushered in when we're talking about Jesus. Now, we still have the Holy Spirit who needs to be sent, and the Holy Spirit enlightens the disciples and enlightens the people, calls people to faith, and helps them to understand just what it was that Jesus was talking about this whole time that he was with them. But that may be a story for another day, because we were talking exclusively about Jesus in this particular narrative arc, not what comes next, which is the spreading of the true kingdom, the church, the ecclesia, the called out ones. But now we see that Jesus' victory is for you and for me. He already had everything He emptied himself to meet his date with destiny here on earth in order that you and I would be saved, in order that you and I would follow him in his mission to love people into salvation through faith in the one name by which all men are saved, Jesus Christ, who took on our burden, who took on our sin, who saved us where we couldn't save ourselves. He is the only one that could have done what he did. He is the only one whose death means anything for us. He is the only one whose life guarantees that you and I have a life, both here and in the age to come. So thanks for joining me on this narrative arc. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about perhaps what's coming up next, and I think that you'll enjoy what's coming up next. As I told you many times in the past, after my son was born, we're going to be looking at restructuring this daily bread and perhaps calling it something else, perhaps keeping the name, but certainly moving forward in maybe a different way. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what's in store for that. I hope that you've been enjoying this, because I think what's next, and this is a teaser, is that we're going to be looking at the story of Jesus as told through other main characters, particularly in film. And so I have somebody who's helping me work on that right now, and I hope to have more to share with you tomorrow and in the coming days. So until we have something firm, just know that we'll be continuing with this schedule, and once we have figured everything out, then I will roll out what this devotion is going to look like, especially as we come out of this quarantine phase and your schedule gets a bit busier and my schedule gets a bit busier. I've really enjoyed doing this for you, and will continue to do this for you in the time to come, until I can't anymore, or until circumstances beyond my control force me not to. But thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have a great weekend. Tune in tomorrow via Facebook, Link San Antonio Facebook page. We're going to be live at 8 p.m. Central Time.